What the Church of Scientology is so afraid of.
This is SPTV.
Good morning, everyone. Aaron is back with some more SPTV coverage of the Danny Masterson trial, but we're going to take a little bit of a segue this morning to talk about a tidbit that has popped up, a distraction, you might say, in the context of the Danny Masterson trial. Let me start by saying that this person I'm talking about, Graham Brewer, is a public figure. He's not a private figure. This is a guy who's made many public appearances with celebrities. You can find his photo in magazines, sort of, what do you call it? Culture magazines, culture rags. He is a fixture in the Scientology celebrity scene. He's one of Danny Masterson's best friends. When you search Graham Brewer on the internet, what you're going to see is a lot of publicity photos, him making public appearances with Scientology celebrities. He's also someone who showed up in court every single day during the first Danny Masterson trial to, from some people's perspective, intimidate one of the Jane Does in the case. Because Graham Brewer has the distinction of having molested this girl when she was underage in Scientology in Clearwater at the Flag Land Base, whether Graham Brewer remembers it or not. And by the way, how this whole thing got started is, by the way, I've been hearing about this for a long time. I'm not the originator of this information, obviously. This information was actually provided to the district attorney's office in the last trial. It just so happens, though, there are no statutes that prevent Graham from coming to the courtroom and being present. So, I wasn't at the first trial, though. So I show up to the second trial. I see Graham Brewer there, and I confront him. I say, do you remember me? I know Graham Brewer from Flag, from Clearwater, from 1995, 1996. Absolutely no memory of me. I asked him if he remembered one of our mutual friends, Jeff Pearlman. Claims to have absolutely no memory of who Jeff Pearlman is, despite me trying to jog his memory for a couple minutes. I asked him if he remembered the Jane Doe in the case. He claims to have absolutely no memory of ever knowing or having met this Jane Doe before. And then he goes to me, mate, that was 30 years ago. I go, yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday. You seem to have complete amnesia. Okay, so then I did a video calling out Graham Brewer for being a known child predator in Scientology. Well, later that day, I got a letter from his lawyer. Let's read that letter. Let me bring it up on screen here. All right, let's go, guys. I'm risking running a little late for court, but I figured, you know what? Why not? Okay, the Internet Law Center, Bennett G. Kelly, April 25th, 2023, via email. Mr. Aaron Smith-Levin, Vice President, the Aftermath Foundation. I have no idea why they're deciding to address this to the Aftermath Foundation. The Aftermath Foundation has literally completely irrelevant to the conversation. That is the mailing address for the Aftermath Foundation. Read, defamation of Graham Brewer. Dear Mr. Smith-Levin, this firm represents Graham Brewer, and I'm writing with respect to your recent scurrilous attacks against him on Twitter and YouTube, falsely accusing him of being a serial child molester who was forced to flee to South Africa after Scientology discovered how many underage girls Graham had molested. In the last 2 days, you have posted the following on Twitter. Serial child molester and Scientologist Graham Brewer is in court every day as one of Danny Masterson's support group. Predators of a feather flock together. When Scientology discovered how many underage girls Graham had molested in Clearwater, he was immediately shipped back to South Africa. Well, I'm just quoting from Graham's attorney here, ladies and gentlemen. April 25th, another tweet from me. Child molester shows up to support Danny Masterson. Yep, true. True. This tweet includes a link to the video Child Molester Shows Up to Support Danny Masterson, Graham Brewer, published on your YouTube channel, Growing Up in Scientology. In the video, you stated that a child molester named Graham Brewer has been showing up to court every day in connection with the Danny Masterson trial. You allege that my client molested a whole mess of underage Scientology girls in Clearwater, Florida. And it just so happens that one of the girls he molested is one of the victims in the Danny Masterson trial. What I really wanted to ask Graham is, hey, Graham, are you here for Danny or are you here for Jane Doe? Another is that you're just here to support your friend, or are you here to intimidate someone you molested when she was an underage girl? In the video, you also alleged that my client committed many crimes against underage Scientology girls on the Flag Land Base for which he could be prosecuted and imprisoned. So true. And that the Church of Scientology shipped his ass right back to South Africa as a result. So true. You refer to Mr. Brewer as someone who goes around molesting kids. I mean, I'm being a little tongue-in-cheek there, but your allegations are false. Well, that's what I would expect you to say. I mean, come on now. Let me be as clear as possible. Mr. Brewer has engaged in no such conduct. Well, how would you know? Mr. Brewer doesn't even remember the time period in question. You sure as hell have no idea. Mr. Brewer has never molested the Jane Doe involved in the Masterson trial or engaged in any inappropriate conduct towards her. I think it's interesting. He stops short of saying Mr. Brewer has never met the Jane Doe, which is what Mr. Brewer said to me in the hallway of the 9th floor of the Clara Shortridge Foltz Criminal Justice Center. So, okay, Mr. Brewer has never molested the Jane Doe or engaged in any inappropriate conduct towards her. Further, Mr. Brewer has never molested any woman, underage or otherwise, whether in Florida or anywhere else on this planet. It's funny because on this planet is a phrase you would expect a Scientologist to say. I mean, a non-Scientologist, I would expect to be like, in the world. I don't know. Just that's just how I see it. In addition, at no time prior to your recent attacks has Mr. Brewer been informed of any allegations that he engaged in any such conduct, nor was he ever asked to leave the country by the Church of Scientology. Oh, I'm sure he wasn't asked, good sir. He was shipped right off. No disagreement permitted. And also, I don't think he would need to be informed of the allegations. He was personally involved in them. And look, in the context of the Danny Masterson trial, we already know darn well no Scientologists go to the authorities about anything. Okay, your malicious publication of such false allegations is per se defamatory under California law, for which damages are presumed. And Mr. Brewer may recover punitive damages. He may try. I do welcome him to. Your tweets and video have been viewed by thousands and already have polluted search results for Mr. Brewer. Let's not undersell the video's performance, good sir. The video has been viewed by tens of thousands, and hopefully by the end of the day, tens of thousands more. Mr. Brewer demands that you, 1, take down all such posts or other publication of these allegations by close of business Wednesday, April 26, 2023. 2, post a retraction, yikes, concurrent with the takedown, stating that your reports about Mr. Brewer were without any basis and that you have no knowledge of Mr. Brewer engaging in any inappropriate or illegal activity whatsoever. 3, tender a copy of this letter to you. To your insurance carrier, including the carrier for the Aftermath Foundation. Yes, good sir, I will get right on it. 4, preserve all documents, tangible things, and electronically stored information, including emails, social media communications, direct messages, text messages, and voicemail relating to your allegations against Mr. Brewer and responses thereto. And by the way, you don't have to tell me to preserve the communications. They're going to be staying on the internet for all of time. 5, cease and desist all further defamation and or harassment of Mr. Brewer, his family, and or his business. Well, I'm going to have to take issue with that last request. By the way, I didn't know Mr. Brewer even had a family. If he has a wife or kids or living parents, I have no knowledge of them. I've never known them. I don't know who they are. I had no idea that Mr. Brewer even had a business. I thought he was just a hangers-on who lived on his friends' couches or something like that. I don't know. I don't claim to know anything about Mr. Brewer's life for the last 30 years. I actually had to Google him and find him on LinkedIn just to understand what business might be being referred to. So anyway, please respond in writing to confirm your compliance by no later than close of business on Thursday, April 27, 2023. Please feel free to contact me should you have any questions or wish to discuss this further. Sincerely, Internet Law Center, Bennett G. Kelly. Well, I am interested in discussing this further, but not with you personally, Mr. Kelly, at least not at this time. So let me explain some things. It is Mr. Brewer who claims to have complete amnesia of the time period in question. Well, I certainly do not. And neither do the victims and the Scientologists and the Sea Org members who were there at that time, many of whom are now out of Scientology. So, for example, Mr. Graham Brewer, do you recall in 1990 or 1991 being on the Key to Life and Life Orientation courses? It was a kind of a new hot thing in Scientology. It was a really big deal at the Flagland base. I can tell you from personal memory that the course supervisors and staff in the Key to Life LOC delivery area were Tony Torito, Nikki Erickson, whose married name was Nikki Mariani. The word clear was Sherry Cepolina. Over in the LOC course room, you had Mary Pesh and Adriana Swacco. That was just the KTL LOC area. If you got sent to ethics while a student on this course, you would have to go over to Qual, where Liz Brenner would interview you, and then you would have to go see the ethics officer over at the Sandcastle. Her name was Haviva Waters. I don't know how you can have total amnesia of all these things. 30 years ago is not 30 trillion years ago. And I thought Scientology was supposed to help you with your memory. You're supposed to remember 30 trillion years ago. You're definitely supposed to remember 30 years ago. So, Mr. Graham Brewer, you were an adult having relations with a 14-year-old girl. That 14-year-old girl had friends, Scientologists, young underage Scientologists from all over the world who'd come to Flag as young as 12 years old, who you inappropriately touched. I don't know how you can even deny this occurred when you can't seem to remember anything at all. So, there are a lot of former Scientologists and former Sea Org members who would absolutely relish the opportunity to be deposed on this subject and testify under oath on this subject, not only in relation to the abuse you've committed, but similar abuse committed at the Flagland base by probably dozens, if not hundreds, of other people over the years. I'll just, one example. Have you heard of a woman named Debbie Cook? She was the captain of the Flagland base while you were at the Flagland base. Debbie Cook is out of Scientology. You might want to check with your ethics officer or whoever your contact in the Office of Special Affairs is. They will tell you how much they love Debbie Cook testifying under oath about matters concerning Scientology. Tom DeVocht is another former Sea Org member who was he was the CMO Clearwater during the years in question. He's out of Scientology, and I promise you, Graham, these people have better memories than you do. So your ego might cause you to want to sue me just for the sake of tying up time and money. But do you understand that that's what I want? Like, I want you to do that. That is why I call out Scientology child predators on this channel. Because when you sue me, you're the harasser. I have a wide open door and a big, bright green light when it comes to discovery and deposition. And I think you're going to find out that Scientology doesn't like its members being deposed. Scientology would actually come down on you pretty hard for creating a situation where Sea Org members, former Sea Org members, both current Scientologists and former Scientologists, are going to be deposed on the subject of child molestation on the Flagland base. The reason I mentioned Key Life and LOC is because those are considered very important courses in Scientology. You were on those courses. And as soon as this information came up and it was investigated and the details were discovered, you were routed off of the Flagland base and you weren't even permitted onto the base to route off of the base. The terminals in the Sea Org terminals at Flag were made to go to where you were off base to do the routing out steps, because you were considered a legal threat to the Flagland base based on what you had done. Now, to the best of the information given to me, you were shipped back to South Africa. At least that's what the girls were told. Now, maybe the girls were given wrong information. Maybe the girls were only being told what Scientology thought would keep them from continuing to make a stink about some of this stuff. I don't know. But you know what, Graham? We'll find out in discovery. Let me see. There was something else. Now, you ended up back at Flag around 1996. So I don't claim to know all the intimate details of what the conditions were, what conditions were set when you were made to leave the Flagland base. Was it a statute of limitations thing that was the clock was just counting down? Were you sent off to go do some sort of a sec check and ethics program handling? I don't know. But Graham, that's okay. We'll find out in discovery. So, I mean, you have given me until the end of tomorrow to confirm compliance with your attorney that I have met the demands of your letter. But you could consider this video my official response. And I look forward to seeing you in court today if you're there. All right, everyone. Short and sweet. That's all I got. I'll give you an update around lunchtime, Pacific time, on the Danny Masterson trial. And I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, oh, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe.